Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We're your hosts, David O.
And Eric V.
God, he's so...
You hate it, don't you?
draw that out
you
so
hate
badly.
It so much.
Such a dick.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are gathered here today like this is a marriage. With our
sponsorship is like a marriage, right?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a
Yeah,
marriage.
stickers. We actually have little bracelets, too. With Tara and Kat. How are you guys doing today?
Well, we're well.
We're well?
Yeah,
Okay.
doing
well.
Okay.
That's tentative.
Woke up quite abruptly.
Yes.
Cat before me because my maintenance, apartment maintenance people decided to show up unannounced and unexpectedly. Yeah.
What were they doing? Is something wrong?
They love to just pound on the door like it's their right to just come in,
like
know?
the cops.
Yeah. So.
For what purpose?
For a reason, like.
The guy knocked on the door and then he told me there was a hole behind a door they wanted to inspect.
A hole behind a door.
He
There are
didn't
only so many
specify
doors.
Which door either? And I'm me and don't.
I don't trust that man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
No,
Ever?
I'm sorry. You have a hole behind your door.
You have a hole behind your door.
What,
Yeah.
Like a
Let me go
like
inspect
what
you
the
here.
f-
And this is not like, it's not
Wake up.
like, some penthouse, with multiple rooms. It's like,
No.
there's really just 2 rooms. Everything else is like, there's
It's like a
Yeah,
one
there's like
room.
3 doors.
It's a one bedroom and one, like there's only so many doors. So I have no idea because they're supposed to email.
Was there a hole behind the door?
Not that I'm aware of.
Uh,
I duct taped up one of the doors. Like it's completely covered in duct tape. That's a whole nother story, but yeah.
why? Wait, whoa. That's
Yeah.
something I would do.
Apparently,
Why did you
yeah.
do that?
That is something you would do, Eric.
What, right?
For punk rock. No,
There you go.
No.
Should have just left it there.
I know, I'd love to say
Yeah.
that. No, it's because, you know how doors, when they've been beaten in so many times, will it's that thing
Nope.
of when it's off the, right?
Nope, I'm not sure.
Yep.
I
know
watched
that.
a lot of
You're speaking my
Stefan
language.
off of SNL last night, and so I'm going to
Oh,
say,
nice.
it's that thing of when the door has been beaten in so many times.
Stefan's the Bill Hader character. isn't
Yes,
he?
Yeah.
yes.
Like the clubbing
Yes.
character.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, so like that thing of when the door is off the frame
Hinges,
so
yeah.
much that it's like not, it's so off. So I just duct taped it because I didn't feel like weather stripping it to the nth degree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, because otherwise I was smelling weed like
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Because people just do that in my buildings.
That's the new
It
existence.
is legal
Yeah.
now. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
All
if
right.
you go to New York, that's all you smell.
Well, the reason we are here today with Kat and Tara is because they are sponsee and sponsor, and we're going to talk about, sponsorship. And I actually brought out the Narcotics Anonymous sponsorship pamphlet, which will
Well,
go.
let's first, before we dive in, we had Tara, we had you on a few weeks ago, but
Yes,
let's
yes.
Kat, let's
Kat,
get
where
I
are
don't
you
know,
from?
yeah,
I
a
got
little
it.
bit about you got it. Okay.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are you from, Kat?
That's easy and hard to answer. I'm from everywhere, but for the past 3-ish years in the Catonsville area. Right now I live in College Park, but I'm about to move back to closer, Owings Mills, I guess.
Where are you originally born?
New Mexico.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
How'd you get here?
So, okay, the easiest
Well,
way.
here, let me ask you two more short answer
Okay.
questions, then I'm going to turn it over to you for a minute.
Okay.
When were you first introduced to recovery?
Was first introduced to recovery right before I went to rehab, which was, it's 2025, so I guess in 2022.
Okay. And how much clean time do you have?
I have, next month on the 13th, it'll be 11 months.
Woo!
All right. I'm going to give you
15 minutes.
Well, yeah.
10 to 15 minutes.
Short story. How'd you get from New Mexico to here as fast as possible? And then we'll
Okay.
get to sponsorship.
So I have 2 sisters. This is the fast way to explain it. She was born in Delaware. I was New Mexico. Little sister was Arkansas. And I've been in almost all 50 states.
Nice.
Originally because my parents were in the military and then got divorced through an entire saga. And then got to Maryland when I was 15. And the rest of the states,
How old are you?
I'm 23.
Okay.
got to the rest of all the state visits basically through various rounds of treatment, and residentials and everything. And then, so I guess to here, 2022, right before I went to rehab, I had gotten home after being 8 months in inpatient to residential, all of that. And then the first night I was home, I used. And the end of that was like 8 months later.
What was your drug of choice?
Everything.
Fair enough.
Good
call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stuck to like opiates and amphetamines because I lived in a pharmacy.
Yeah.
Like a
But-
real pharmacy?
No.
No, Eric. It's hyperbole.
Oh, I was just
a
like,
traveling
I was like, is this a
pharmacy.
dream that I had on there?
Shut up. Eric. Back to you.
Yeah. End of it. I Googled meetings near me.
Oh,
And I went to this church and nobody was there. I tried a second time. Nobody was there. And
was this after COVID?
It was 2022, dingbat.
Yeah, so COVID fucked everything up for meetings. It makes it's sad.
Yeah,
She's
for COVID.
trying to find
Yes,
a meeting.
2022.
It
happened
is
after
sad.
22.
It's sad.
Well, it
2020.
was like
Yes.
I looked it up and my house was awful to live in, and I went there and there was no one there. I tried twice, and then I guess like a month or two later, my mom gave me two choices: take me to court for conservatorship or go to rehab. And so I said, like human rights that are mine. So I
Yeah.
went to rehab.
Conservatorship's not cool.
And then I, after 33 days, left rehab to a recovery house and have been moved out ever since. And that's kind of the easiest way to say how I got here, because I've hopped 4 different houses, recovery wise, and then 3 individual wise.
Okay. Cool. All right. Now to sponsorship. How did you come to choose Tara?
At rehab, I went to a treatment IOP facility, and I was introduced to her over FaceTime on a single night.
Oh, nice.
After sharing my story in the group or whatever, or at least an intro to it. And then after that, I think, how many months passed?
Oh, quite a few.
Yeah,
I don't
it
remember.
was a lot. I can't either. I shared a meeting and she came up to me. I was like, me, new, clean is not very approachable.
That's most
Yeah,
addicts.
most people.
Yeah, we're like feral animals at that point. Yeah.
Yes.
And I didn't even super recognize that I wasn't super approachable. It was just everything was overstimulating, and I don't even my how much time I have right now, which by the way is the longest I've ever had.
Congratulations. Ooh, we're
Don't
doing snaps.
Yeah, snaps. Snaps.
Yeah.
don't know how to easily talk to people, and when I try to shorten anything, it does sound like this, super choppy, and I'm buffering.
That's okay. I love Tarantino.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
And,
That's great.
I like that you described it as buffering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that. Yeah, I didn't. Hear
There's
that.
this great phone case I was gonna get that's literally a cat, and it's got the little computer that.
Oh, the dial.
Yeah. And then it says buffering.
Oh,
And it's
nice.
the cat has, and then there's a bunch of math symbols and words, and it's
Yeah.
That
yeah,
Yeah.
all the time.
it's all going on.
And so, yeah, it took a minute. And so basically what I'm trying to say is that she introduced herself to me a second time. And it was perfect because I was on the end of looking for a new sponsor anyway. And we had so much in common.
How
And
many
she met-
sponsors did you have you had?
Just one other one.
Just one other? Okay.
Yeah.
Was it a real sponsor or was it a trainee sponsor?
Oh,
That's a fair question.
It was a real sponsor.
Okay.
It was just we related too hard on the way I think we internally talked to ourselves. that was the like I wrote on step 1 for over and over. I relapsed a bunch. And when I compare like the first 2 times, I got over halfway through the questions to just like the last time I did it, when Tara became my sponsor, it's just vastly different.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I was never like redirected because me and my first sponsor, I think we shared like just our internal dialogue like too similarly without any type of reframing. And I'm not super nice to myself when like, because
Oh yeah, me too.
a
Yeah.
big
Feel
part
that.
of like, I don't know how I was identified like with my story, my recovery is just, I didn't have a whole bunch of denial. And so step 1 for me was like, yeah, I know I have a problem. Like I
Yeah.
was like a messy
why I'm
person.
here,
That's why I'm
dum-dum.
here.
69 questions of
Oh yeah.
God.
I
know.
I've always thought that like the first question, the first step, like I really think they should shorten it just to like give people some like
I like
Yeah.
that it's 69 questions.
some momentum.
I'm in
Of
so
course.
I'm in your camp, Eric, but I recognize that some people
It's
you know,
hilarious.
Like-
would prefer the other, and the survey that just so that Nas just put out a survey.
I see it both ways.
Yeah,
Like, I
and
get it.
they're like, we've heard a lot of feedback about simplifying and condensing.
because that
Well, if you
there-
get rid of we're doing this right now. We're going through the step working guide.
yeah,
in
we're
the
actually having a whole
podcast.
episode
Oh,
series
that's
where
cool.
we're going to go through every question in
So-
the step working guide.
I plan on. I don't know if I'll ever get up to speed with the podcast, but just
Dude,
so
we
you
have
know,
so much. There's
I've
so
got
much.
it. Like I'm checking out. I'm checking the things, and I'm
Thank you.
going backward, and hopefully I'll.
You're just buttering us up at this point.
Oh gosh, no,
Yeah.
I'm not. I promise, I am trying because I'm really curious. Like, you have such a backlog though; it's intimidating.
Oh yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're up to like 250
Yeah,
episodes.
that-
Something
oh my
like
gosh.
that. I mean,
That's
we've been doing
amazing.
it
It's
since
amazing.
2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing about the podcast since then, so yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
But yeah, like just to like get the ball rolling for people, I think would be a better way to go about it. But
I
that's
get
just
it.
my opinion.
Yeah.
We'll go around. How did you get your sponsor?
Okay, so I had a first sponsor that is not my sponsor any longer,
How many
and then
sponsors have you had?
so there was a period between that sponsor and the current sponsor where I think I went through 4 or 5.
Whoa.
Yeah, because I was, at that point I'd
Sounds
been
really judgy, Eric.
Sorry.
Take it
Judge
from
away.
a 10 to a 4. You
judge
turd.
away. That's totally fine. No, it was this, pre-COVID time where
Yeah.
I was in between rounds of steps, and I actually went over to AA because I wanted not to go to the meetings of AA, even though that
Yeah,
would have
why
been
would you do
fine.
that?
Well, it would have been totally fine. No
Yes, no,
judgment
no,
from
no,
me.
no.
You wanted to work the
No.
steps their way.
I wanted to work
Yeah.
the steps their way. I wanted to learn why I had
Absolutely.
preconceived notions and why they were wrong about the big books. So I decided
okay.
to read that. And yeah, so I was doing that for a minute. I was working with my friend Brian, who
As a
has-
sponsor?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. And I was
That's
not
awesome.
in AA, but like I'm saying, I did. Yeah, I had male sponsors
That's
for
awesome.
a minute.
That's cool.
And then I had so anyway, my first sponsor, I found her because I was told to go ask her by someone.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, I was told to go ask her, and it wasn't a bad move. It was someone that was a
Yeah.
friend of mine, who helped me get in the rooms at all, and we worked together for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
So that was a good relationship, but unfortunately, like similar to what Kat just shared, we had some ways in which we were similar, and we just sort of grew apart. So it turned out I was kind of being deceitful. I was like harboring I was like in
You weren't
full
being,
on.
like fully truthful.
Yeah, I was in eating disorder, which I talked about last time, right? So I was
Yeah,
dealing
yeah.
with eating disorders, and I was scared to tell her. I had like
Coheed and Cambria tattoo?
it sure is. I just got it.
Dope.
I didn't know y'all were fans.
yeah.
I'm not
I'm
I've seen them live 2
I
or
think
3 times.
Feathers is one
They're
of the best
fantastic live.
songs
I've
ever.
never gotten into their studio shit. I should.
Feathers is a
should.
top 5 song for me.
Oh,
probably.
Feathers. Okay, yeah. So this is like obviously
he's not
the
a metal
Keywork
guy.
logo.
No,
Oh,
but
really?
I like
Yeah, but they are
the
so mixed
concept.
genre.
I like
Yeah.
the concept of like Coheed, how they're
Yes.
like they are a concept band.
Actually, I have
Yes.
a cool
Which is
thing for
cool.
you.
Like the
We'll talk
Keywork,
about
for
it.
instance, is literally like
Yeah.
planets. You
And
know,
don't
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have
Symbolic
like
Oh, they're-
accompanying stuff too? Don't
We
they
are
have, like,
digressing
comics
so
and
far.
shit?
I
It's
know,
a
right?
fantastic tattoo.
Thank
Back
you.
to you, Tara.
Good job,
Quiet,
David.
Eric.
I could talk about Coheed for
Yes,
too long.
we could.
So
Oh, yeah, music.
Coheed podcast. No, I'm just
and
kidding.
Avenged Sevenfold. Okay.
Yep,
We'll
Avenged
talk. We'll
Sevenfold.
talk after the pod. We'll talk
Sure,
after the
sure,
pod.
sure.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, the point being that she, politely, gently let me know that she thought I should find anyone at about 6 or 7 years. And yes, my abandonment issues were strong. So then I started skipping.
Oh, so your sponsor suggested it.
Yes, and I was like
That's interesting.
like the third step, we have to make the decision.
Yeah.
I was like, and pretty much
The decision
anytime
was being
someone,
made
yeah,
for
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Pretty much anytime the decision, I've realized that's such a pattern. Like I don't have the types of authority issues where I'm like, when I was locked up, I was like teacher's pet. I'm like, COs, please love me.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything wrong. Can we be besties? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not always the rebel against authority, but yeah, if you tell me that,
Once I was caught,
made that decision?
I was the best lapdog ever.
right.
Because I'm like, what's the point in fighting at this
Exactly.
point? You have me in handcuffs. Like,
Yeah. Right. So anyway, she gently suggested, and so I moved on, but I ended up with the sponsor I have now, who I had, wanted for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I just was scared to ask. And she's actually they were sponsee sisters.
Oh, cool.
So I'd known her for years.
What's
and,
her name?
Pauline.
Okay.
She's down in Florida now, but she was here for most of her recovery. She has over 40 years clean.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Nice.
and she got clean at the same age that I did,
Mm-hmm.
which was 21, and yeah, it was just amazing to start working with her. She is where I got like Kat was mentioning about reframing the negative internal dialogue, and I feel like that really started to change for me when I started working with my current sponsor. So
Nice.
yeah.
Oh yeah. What about you, Eric? How did you come to? Is Eric your first sponsor, or is Tim your first sponsor?
Tim is my only sponsor
Tim is
that
your
I've
only
ever
sponsor?
had.
Wow.
So I remember it was between Tim and Herb.
Yeah.
Okay,
That was
yeah.
always like the two people I was looking at. And Tim, I guess kind of had Tim and I were kind of similar. I liked his pragmatic view of recovery.
Yes.
So I could get behind a lot of what Tim was talking about. And like Tim had ideally more or less what I wanted compared to other people, right?
Yeah.
Like he had like the 2.5 kids and the house and like the blah 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 bullshit of
Yeah.
like life.
I love Tim. Tim was
I love that term, blah 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 bullshit.
So like, yeah, it's so I asked him to be my sponsor, and then I worked the steps with him 2 times. Once the step working guide, and once like an AA hybrid way. And then we kind of just fell off.
Yeah.
So
Well, he moved,
He
didn't he?
moved. He
Yeah.
moved. And then I went back out a few times. So we kind of like, and we have connected since then. But like even Matt's not his sponsee anymore. Matt
Yeah.
moved on.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about where Tim is. Like at least with this area, is if Matt's not even.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
in the
you move
family.
a couple hours away.
It
it's
becomes
difficult to-
hard.
Yeah, it becomes difficult. I get it.
Yeah, so like, if I were to ever get another sponsor, I'd be picky again. But yeah, at the moment, well, I guess it's still Tim. Neither of us have fired each other. So
Yeah.
I would say it's still Tim. But
Nice.
yeah.
And the way I got to mine, my first sponsor was a little overbearing
A
for the
douche?
time.
Could I
Yeah.
call him a douche?
I was gonna say, if we're being honest, yes. That,
Yes.
Can I call him a
yeah.
douche?
I was just-
From
I
a
was being
women's
polite.
perspective,
So
I mean, it's really a douche.
His rule early in recovery was that I had to call him every day for I think it was 90 days, and
That sounds like codependency to me.
Hello?
it was a lot.
Hello?
Okay, yeah, and also I had started culinary school, and like I was just trying to really change my life as much as possible, And it just became a lot. And like at like day 40 or 45, like I dropped the ball and I forgot to call him. And he wouldn't let me start steps until that 90 days was through. And at day 40, I didn't call him one day, and the conversations were like so stupid some days. He was like, "How was your day?" I was like, "Fine." He was like, "Do you feel like using drugs?" No.
You were like a resentful child where it was like, "How was school
Yeah.
today?" And it was like, "It was fine,
like talking
Dad."
to like a parent
Oh my
that you didn't want to
God.
talk to. And so like day 40, I like dropped the ball, didn't call him. So I called him the next day. I was like, "Yeah, sorry, I didn't call you." He was like, "All right, we got to start over." And I was like, "Ooh."
Oh my
I
God.
was like, no.
Yeah.
No, we
Good
don't.
for you.
I was like, I want to, because at that point I had 3 months clean at that point, and I was like, I want to work steps.
Yeah.
Like I want to get to this
Yes.
point. So
Like gatekeeping in sponsorship. Hello?
yeah, that's essentially what was happening.
But in the world.
And I wasn't about it, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna move on to the next dude that I had, which was Tyler, who's no longer with us. He was murdered.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Tyler.
The Columbia Mall, Zoomies.
wow.
At the Serenity Center.
Yeah.
You've seen his plaque. Yeah, that was my second sponsor. Worked 1, 2, and part of 3 with him. And
Rest in peace, sir.
yeah, that was a fucking bummer. And then I think at like 10 or 11 months, his girlfriend at the time went out, and there was just some friction with her, and I was like, well, if I have friction with her, I don't want to have friction with him. So I was like, let me move on to Herb. So I moved on to Herb, who I have had for the last 12 years. So
That's awesome.
it all worked out. But yeah,
I'm really glad you shared that, David, because I was definitely being just polite about
What?
something. No, it's just you sort of laid it out on the table, was a little more
and
forthcoming about the nature of what went wrong.
yeah,
And
because if I'm not naming names, I'm not saying who the person is. I'm just so that way they're insulated.
Are you talking about your first sponsor?
Yes.
I'll say his name.
No, you won't.
Oh, yeah,
We're
let's not.
we're gonna be nice today, Eric. We're gonna be different. So
I still have a huge
Yeah,
resentment against him.
but I know you do, and that's why we're gonna be nice. But yeah,
things go wrong in sponsorship
wrong.
relationships,
Yeah.
and it's really important for I could have recognized years before my sponsor had gently suggested, it wasn't a suggestion, it was very clear, we can't do this anymore, which props to her. I'm grateful that she made that, because she was not wrong. It's just that I could have been forthcoming 3 years before that.
I mean, as addicts, I think we have all stayed in relationships or situationships way past their fucking expiration dates.
And that's the thing, with codependency, because it became codependent in the sense that, and I started it, I feel, because I felt like I owed her something. I felt my tendency to stay in something way past the expiration date. It's a loyalty. It's always loyalty, right? This strong and pervasive sense of I'm indebted to you.
It's
for
very
life,
common
for
in
saving my
addicts
life.
to sacrifice ourselves for the betterment.
It's one of those subtle forms of self-destruction that we do.
Yeah, because it's
Covert self-destruction.
it's it's that covert altruism or denial altruism.
Where we have great intentions.
Yes.
We're just not for ourselves.
Yes.
Hardly ever.
All right, let's get into
maybe think of
sponsorship. Well, what are we going to read here? I'll read the opening to this. So this is out of the NAIP number 11 sponsorship revised. One of the first suggestions many of us hear when we begin to attend NA meetings is to get a sponsor. As newcomers, we may not understand what this means. What is a sponsor? How do we get and use one? Where do we find one? This pamphlet is intended to serve as a brief introduction to sponsorship. Our basic text tells us that the heart of NA beats with two addicts when two addicts share their recovery. And sponsorship is simply one addict helping another. The two-way street of sponsorship is a loving, spiritual, and compassionate relationship that helps both the sponsor and sponsee. So the first question is here, who is a sponsor? Let's go around and, let's answer it. Who is a sponsor? I guess I'll start.
Yeah.
just like it said, like pretty simply, somebody that is going to guide you in the right direction of finding a new way of life, spiritually, psychologically, and because we're getting off of drugs, physically as well. And just somebody who has an experience that you need help with. It's honestly just going to somebody and saying, I don't know how to do this. I know you do.
Right.
Can you show me the way?
Yep.
And that's what I got. What's your answer to that, Eric? Who is a sponsor?
A sponsor is a steward. So it's
Yeah.
it's someone, who will lead you like through but might not necessarily like hold your hand, right?
Yes.
They're going to guide you and they're going to give you everything that you need, but they aren't going to like be the driving force. Like that's still with you. So I think that's kind of how I would describe it is like more of like a steward.
Yeah.
What about you? Who is a sponsor?
To me, a sponsor is what you all just said, but I'm going to try to add something to it, I guess,
Yeah.
which is that like a sponsor is going to reflect on you the best of their ability, your assets. They're going to show unconditional love. They're going to show compassion, and some of those, just embody the spiritual principles to be a bit of a mirror to the sponsee, is to like all those good things about them, and not in a codependent way, not in a co-signing way, to hold firm boundaries, to show what that looks like, to be a good example of the program and what it can do, like what the steps, working the steps, how it can change a person. Now, of course, the sponsee typically, depending on how long they work together, they may not be seeing them change in a dramatic way, because they may not know them from their early recovery to later recovery, but they may, So anyway, I think that the thing is that, like, at least for me, defects don't go away. So usually what does change is the way we work through them. So a sponsor might be showing how they changed by talking through what's still happening in their head.
Yeah.
But, to show, like, to be able to demonstrate, what is it, attraction, not promotion, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's, a sponsor is someone who embodies the program in the sense that they carry the spiritual principles.
And I'm glad you brought it up like that, because I'll say it, just the way I feel it. I despise white horse sponsors.
Oh, what does that
What
mean?
is that?
So somebody who is in their ivory,
Oh.
they are better than.
Oh,
they
yes,
don't-
exactly.
They never share their own failures
Right.
or inadequate. Like when they fall short, they're like, "I'm perfect. I'm living this amazing
Right.
program." And
Right.
It's like
It's a lie.
bullshit. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bullshit. And just that sort of I'm your knight in shining
Exactly.
armor, and I'm gonna show you the way. And it's just like, no, I'd rather you just be real and
Be real.
Be like, hey, I'm a human. I fuck up too.
Yes.
And so, these are some of the missteps I've taken in my journey that you don't have to make.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Love that.
Who's sponsored to you?
Besides all of that,
I know. Going last sucks because you're like, oh, everybody said you took my answer.
well, no, I just like my
We'll
brain.
snake draft it. Kat, you
Yeah,
get to go
yeah,
ahead.
we'll go back.
My brain's massive on metaphors, and so it's just like, it's a mirror, and like of parallels. Like, so this is my experience, and this is like, experience, strength, and hope of the program, encompassing the principles and how they do. And then, like, for me, it's like, here's my day to day, and we did like the steps, and so like, well, the steps I've done so far.
What step are you on so far?
4.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And so like she knows like most of my story and everything. And so it's like connecting all the things. And it's kind of what I guess the redundancy, in my opinion, of all the questions in step 1 are doing. Like, hey, these are like, I am really trying to make it clear of like, this is the problem we're trying to identify. And
Yeah.
so it's doing that and drawing it to the sponsor's experience, to what you're experiencing now, and like the day-to-day. It's making the picture together. Yeah, so if
Love
you're both
that.
standing in a mirror and you're seeing the parallels.
I love the making the picture together.
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
really
fantastic
cool.
analogy. And I actually just wrote down a really good question, just based off what you were saying, because I think a lot of recovery is, for analogous terms, dealing with wounds, and a sponsor, very much in my opinion, has the delicate responsibility of looking at an open wound and figuring out how to treat it.
Yes.
And so, and sometimes it's opening old wounds and then figuring out how to close them back up during your step
Yes.
work time, so you're not just sending them out there with
Exactly.
in raw and infected.
Right.
So, what do you think about that, that nature of trusting somebody to deal with your wounds?
Well, I mean, that's why, the way she became my sponsor was so great, because, I got clean, and after of just a really long time of before not being met where I'm at, or not, and people not knowing how, and then getting clean, and then that's still, playing out as, I don't know, I'm trying to do something different. She met me where I was at. I couldn't talk to people, so she talked to me, and with no conditions.
Yeah.
And in meetings, I say this a lot, I have commitment issues with breathing. I'm cool.
Nice. I have
with,
commitment issues with breathing.
Yeah,
That's very true.
I do. And when I say it, I
So
always
good.
get worried that people are going to be like, oh, so you're suicidal. I'm like, well, no, I mean, I have been in the past and everything, but currently it's no, I do things different today, and I'm building skills and life on life's terms and all that. And I will still wake up and be like,
Not today.
not today.
Yep.
What is this, and how do I do anything? And so she kind of did what you described, really amazingly. And I hadn't experienced it before.
Are you gonna cry?
I was worried I was gonna cry because my brain's been frazzed all week.
You're gonna make David cry.
Shut up, dude. I'm not gonna cry.
But yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, because that really is how I've started to define sponsorship in general. Because me, when I got into the rooms, I heard the saying that I came in with nothing. My version of coming in with nothing was just I had no skills. I experienced the degradation. I grew up homeless in different areas and stuff like that. But my version of the end this time was just I had been institutionalized for so long, and so I don't know how to define friends. I still today had to ask my partner, so how do you give notice to a landlord, because I've never done that before.
Yeah.
And I'm enrolling in school and shit like that. So all of these things that I just don't have the blueprint for.
Yeah.
And being met where I'm at is really, and being able to make the decision. That's what I like, that she's been focused on that for months, because it's so true. If I can't see the thing I'm doing and knowing I'm the one doing it, then I either don't have an answer, or I do and I'm angry about it, or I have commitment issues with breathing. I'm well, what's the point if there's no autonomy?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me.
And I'm glad you brought up that power of decision, because that's very much in the first step.
Yeah.
And the most powerful word in there is were. We were powerless. It's not that we are powerless.
Right.
We were. And now that we're choosing a new way of life and stepping forward with that, we're taking our power back.
But that scares people.
Yeah.
A lot of times that scares people because we are so, and I just think it's so paradoxical that on the one hand, in recovery in the rooms, I often hear and I have had the same attitude, in the past, sort of on the one hand, it's, you don't have any power, you can't have any. And then on the other hand, we're saying don't be black and white in your thinking.
Yeah.
The whole like...
Yeah. Am I supposed to have power or not power?
Yeah.
It's like, well, you have power sometimes and not other.
Like if I share that my higher self is often my higher power, and I have multiple higher powers, but if my higher self... And it's like, you might still I might still hear a gasp in the room, a figurative gasp, maybe not audibly, but I can just feel the energy change, or I have had that happen where it's like people think you're saying you are your higher power. And I'm like, no, it's an unattainable version of me.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just what I can believe in. I can believe in that in this moment,
Yeah.
But it's,
I've always sort of taken it as like I literally see like in my head like two different spice racks, and one of them is filled with all my spiritual principles, and the other one is filled with all my character defects, and I can pick and choose which I want to add to the pot at any time.
Oh my
and
God.
like my higher self wants to go for, I'm going to be compassionate and, loving and caring and generous. And then it's like, oh, but I'm also going to lie a little bit. And then I'm going to cheat a little bit. And I'm going to be a dick to people.
Yes.
The spices are always there. The spices of life are always available. I shoot for this one, but in reality, sometimes these come off the shelf. And
you went to culinary school, so I just love. I didn't know that, by the way, and that I'd love to talk with you about that off camera as well, or off. Yeah. Anyway, that's awesome. I love that metaphor. It's so good.
What about you, Eric? Opening and closing wounds with a sponsor.
I don't know if that happened. I can talk about it from a different perspective, like
literal wounds.
No, like wounds from my legs and like my
so like actual wounds.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like the mental part of it.
Okay.
Like Tim, when I was with Tim, like as a sponsor, I treated most of that as like academic. I was way too into those books.
I know. He answered, so he went through every single book and highlighted if a sentence ended in a question mark, he answered it.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's wow.
It's OD.
In AA as well.
It's too much.
I did it in multiple, in SMART, in AA. I have them all written down.
Just look at this room. Do you think he has OCD?
Yes.
I love that room.
I do too.
It's fantastic.
It's fantastic, but you're like, something went wrong in here. Somebody had a day.
Somebody had a day. Just a whole day. We say
it's
that.
more than a day.
It's more than a day. It's been a while.
Don't get it twisted.
So I think the best example of like healing a wound would be when I was in treatment at Father Martin Ashley's. There was this reverend there who used to be like the guy who ran things, but he got too old, so he just kind of like did consulting work. Okay. So he had me write like 2 letters, one to my parents about my limb lengthening surgeries, and then one to my dead friend to like kind of heal those wounds. Oh, hi, Jet. And then heal those wounds of like, what that, of those feelings. And like those writing exercises, I feel like, those were the things those were like 2 of my big core issues. And those really helped me kind of get past that part of my life. And we're able to start healing. The healing process was like getting through those 2 things.
I'm going to be honest, I was really skeptical with your answer when I started out, and you actually nailed it. So, congratulations.
What can I say?
What can you say? That's a good point. All right, what does a sponsor do? Sponsors share their experience, strength, and hope with their sponsees. Some describe their sponsor as loving and compassionate, someone that they can count on to listen and support them no matter what. Others value the objectivity and detachment a sponsor can offer, relying on their direct and honest input even when it may be difficult to accept. Still, others turn to a sponsor mainly for guidance through the 12 steps. So, starting with you, Kat, what does a sponsor do? Lots of things. No, but real quick, I'm going to interject. Eric, like he said that, somebody at Father Martin Ashley, a a sponsor isn't always necessarily your sponsor. Sometimes it's somebody in your network that's
Sure.
sponsoring you in that moment.
No,
Sure.
I'd say Herb has sponsored me before, and he's not my sponsor, right?
Yeah, I mean, lots of people have sponsored me over the years,
Or
like
Chip.
unofficially. Like
Yeah.
anybody who has experience that like in,
Yeah.
in whatever.
Or if you're told by your sponsor, call your grand sponsor or
Yeah.
your sponsee sister, because I don't have exact experience in that, but they do.
Yeah, exactly. And a sponsor very much has to be a conduit towards the right answers because no sponsor has every answer to everything.
Exactly.
But what does a sponsor do? Back to Kat.
Um,
Ooh, the next questions are real fun.
what does sponsor do? For me, it was help that like Eric's last answer was like an example, so I'm gonna go that route. And I guess tie it to like meeting me where I was at, because like one of the best descriptions of like sponsorship for me is I like came in after like rounds of unrelated treatment, and so like very familiar with a lot of the stuff, like concepts and the steps and everything. And over the years, I started to develop beliefs, and being able to talk to Tara like about it and have like her experience and feedback and like basically getting me to believe in myself while with like the points of pragmatism and then like it's like unbiased unconditional support is what a sponsor does.
Yeah.
Because like
Agree.
Yeah.
she's not gonna do it for me. She's gonna listen to, I guess, like a set of circumstances, a story, whatever, and then we're gonna do the mirror of parallels, and then I'm gonna go and do with that whatever the fuck I choose to.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Oh, you can curse.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck it up. Fuck it up. Who cares?
And like whatever consequence, and like that's good or bad, it's just like what we tackle next. And like that's what a sponsor, for like in my opinion, does is just like you're along for the ride with your guidance. And
Yeah.
it's like one of the greatest relationships I think like I've ever had.
Same.
So what does sponsor do?
I usually say I can answer this question better by saying what they don't do.
Ooh, okay.
But yeah,
Love
well,
that.
if you're fine with that,
Yeah, I love that.
I'm not going to list, probably everything, but I
No.
will say something that's become really critical, like to me over the years, and that comes from the example of my sponsor.
Yeah.
Is a sponsor does not tell you what to do. A sponsor, and going backtracking a little bit to you talking about opening and closing old wounds with a sponsor, we have to remember as sponsors, most of us are not trained
Yes.
like professionally to be able to do such things. We have to intuit it. We
Yes.
have to do it from the example we got from our sponsor and hope to God that we got a good example, right?
Yeah.
And it's not a great thing to have a poor example and then to do that thing of, I'm going to do the opposite, which is very common. It's easy to do because we're black and white thinkers, right? Like, oh, my sponsor was always telling me everything to do, therefore I'm going to be super lenient. Like, we can't be, we can do that if we choose. It just might cause some harm.
Yeah.
And so anyway, for me, like, it has always been central to not, which kind of sounds like I'm a hypocrite by saying, black and white, I'm not going to do something, but like if I had a rule is that I don't tell anyone what to do, because what right do I have? And the third step teaches me that is not going to work. It's futile, futile. It's like, the sponsee must make their own choice, and they must, proceed through that, and I will be there regardless. I do not say what to do, and I also don't show what it looks like to do conditional love. Like, that's not what we're here for. We need to learn I know for me, I needed to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that was part of the problem with my first sponsor relationship, was that I got to a point of feeling so judged and feeling like everything that I said, if I even brought up that my eating disorder was creeping back in, it was, well, you're in relapse mode, you know, and I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to bring you more shame. I'm not here to cause more wounds. I am here to, like I said, reflect upon you your assets. I am not here to co-sign either. So I am going to critically think about situations. I'm going to try to practice objectivity, and I'm going to...
Because sometimes, you know, you have to step on somebody's toes instead of walk on their grave.
Right. When I did health coaching, when I learned, like, I feel like I even garnered some things from going through that certification. So although, you know, there was a long time I was sponsoring without any sort of professional training, but you know, eventually I did this health coaching and I learned about open-ended questions and I learned about active listening. And then I saw all those things in my current sponsor. I saw her, you know, ask this question and it be open-ended, which means you're not leading someone to a definitive conclusion. You're not priming, you're the word I want is not coming to me, but you're polling for their you know, what they genuinely feel.
You're fishing a little bit.
Yeah, fishing. Yeah. And then you may, you know, ask them another question to help them critically think about the situation. And and you are being, what Kat said is how I completely agree about as far as what a sponsor does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, how I can answer that is pretty much like I'm going to do it like very directly, like what my sponsor does. My sponsor, I believe, is probably the world's best devil's advocate. Like he knows, like I will present like, you know, a situation to him and I'll be like, hey, you know, it could be this way or I could do this. And he's like, well, actually there's like 7 more ways.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, now I understand what you mean, but I'm slightly more confused. And he's like, good. And I'm like, what do you mean fucking good? I was like, how is that good? And he was like, well, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just, the biggest thing that my sponsor does is, well, the thing he has beaten into my head for 12 years is be prepared for the consequences.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's been around long enough and he knows that sponsees are going to do whatever they want to do.
Yes.
He's like, but be prepared for the consequences. And that being that devil's advocate and showing that, like, you know, litany of like consequences just based off this one scenario, he's like, listen, you have to be prepared for all of these like potential outcomes. And which was really important in 8 and 9 because, you know, if I'm coming to you with an amends, you do not have to take it.
Exactly.
But I have to be prepared for whatever potential tongue lashing you give me because I earned it. I can't fight back. I can't be like, oh, well, but no, I hurt you. And like, if it is your prerogative to hurt me back, that's and I just have to be like, okay.
Yep.
And that's the situation. And like, and he's just always preached, you know, policing my own thoughts and personal, emotional, and psychological vigilance. And so, you know, that's what my sponsor does, is he doesn't provide me with answers. He provides me with tools for the ability to potentially solve my own problem. And because I don't believe the point of sponsorship is, you know, they're not a crutch for the rest of your life. They're supposed to, you know, be building you up to a level of autonomy, like you were saying, that I love you calling me every day, but, you know, 8 years down the road, I don't think you need to be calling me every day.
Exactly.
What have we done wrong here that you still have to lean on me? Like, spread your wings and fly.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, there's many.
That's so well put.
Yeah. What does a sponsor do for you, Eric? What does a sponsor do?
They're an instructor through the steps. That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not my friend.
Yeah, I mean, here it says right here, a sponsor's role is not a legal advisor, a banker, a parent, a marriage counselor, or a social worker.
Right.
Nor is a sponsor a therapist offering some sort of professional advice.
Now they can become a friend.
Yes.
They can change, but the core principle of a sponsor is to work the program with you, and to ensure that you know, work it to the best of your ability, or like that they help you work it to the best of your ability. That's really up to you if you're going to work it to the best of your ability.
Exactly.
True.
You know.
Yeah, just adding on that, Eric, like I totally agree, and I think that it's like, you know, once you're thinking in terms of practicing the principles outside, right? That's where it comes in, that the sponsor is not just, you know, what you're saying is not just right on paper and hearing your answers, right? But your answers you've written to the step working guide, or however you're working the steps, but helping you apply the principles of the steps that you just worked. You know what I mean?
That's the important.
Calling back to, hearkening back to, hey, remember when we were going over this? You know, like a lot of additional discourse that it's like, we had this conversation about this thing maybe, and so now you're able to say, hey, remember when we were talking about this?
Understanding is great. Application is the important
right.
part.
Like, do you think this is a pattern that, you know, is likened to that time when we were discussing that question? You know, and that is a little bit not an open-ended, that's a little bit of leading to an answer, but,
like,
you know.
Do you think maybe you were
There's a little bit of that. Yeah. Sometimes there's a little bit of that.
Every once in a while, you'd be like, you think maybe you were doing something wrong here? And it's like, well, yeah.
maybe.
It's like,
yeah.
Exactly. What is the next question in the pamphlet? No, that's no. All right. Now the opposite end of that is, what does a sponsee do? Ooh. One suggestion is to have regular contact with your sponsor. In addition to phoning our sponsor. Okay. We can arrange to meet up at meetings. Some sponsors will tell us how often they expect us to contact them. While others don't set those kinds of requirements. If we cannot find a sponsor who lives close to us, we can look to technology or mail to keep in touch, regardless of how we communicate with our sponsor.
It's like my favorite pamphlet, right? Staying clean in isolation.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
I misread that though.
It is important that we be honest and that we listen with an open mind. So the question is, what does a sponsee do?
I also misread that pamphlet.
I thought you could stay clean in isolation.
Exactly, like be isolating.
Be isolated, right? Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me too.
Eric,
great minds.
Once I create a time machine, I will get you a job as a lighthouse keeper, and you will just be so happy.
I just feel like I would end up in that movie with Robert Patterson.
Yes.
You will end up as Willem Dafoe.
Crazy and be like,
absolutely.
Yes, that will be you.
That movie is so good. Okay.
What does a sponsee do? I mean, a cheeky answer is make a lot of mistakes.
Yes. No, but somebody's got to say it. It's
yeah.
true.
A sponsee, you know, we're going to make mistakes. And no, it's something you said that I truly love, is meeting you where you're at. Because one thing I think a lot of recovery individuals and, you know, practices is, one of my best friends says, you know, when we're coming to the fellowships, we're washing ashore is what we're doing, and so
that's great.
It's a great analogy.
Yes.
And you know, I see Inception. I see Leonardo DiCaprio just in the surf, just completely
my God, yes,
beaten and battered. Like,
we just watched that.
Just looking for a drink of water, something, my kingdom for a horse, whatever.
Yeah.
They need that level of guidance, and
we've been adrift. You know?
We've been adrift for forever, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh, cool, memorize this shit, get to work. You're going to need to memorize all of these little chants that we say in every meeting. And then come walk with us.
Hold on.
What?
So when we're at Donnie's anniversary, I always look around the room to see who knows the addict's prayer.
I know.
Because people don't know the addict's prayer. So I always get a little tickled when I see like people fucking that up.
Yeah,
you know?
but
I don't know that prayer.
Well, because it's intimidating when you come into your first.
It's you know, it's like, everybody help me say, take my will and my recovery. That's
a third step prayer.
No. On the back of the
prayer.
coin.
Yeah, so not take my will in my recovery.
No, it's,
that's third step. It's
that
no
addict
addict
seeking
seeking recovery
recovery
need ever
never
fail.
die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
need ever die. Yeah, that's
My
the average
gratitude.
person.
I didn't know it
speaks
had a
when I-
name. My bad.
Yeah,
Okay,
gratitude
got it.
Speaks when I
But see?
share and when I share with others.
Others, yeah.
But we're taking these feral animals or whatever, washing ashore, and we're like, here, get up to speed with what we're doing, and we're not meeting them where they're at. And like my sponsor has talked about that. He was like, he tried to work with people, and like halfway through the first step, he had to like really like ask kind of an embarrassing question. It's like, can you read?
Yeah.
And the dude couldn't. He was like, not really. He was like, I dropped out in like 6th grade. I
Wow.
haven't read anything.
Wow.
Forever. He was like, okay, then we're going to do the steps orally. He's like, I'm going to ask you a question
Yes.
and you're going to respond. He was like, I'm not going to ask you to read all this. But he was like, also, because it says in our literature, what is your problem and how we can help you. He was like, okay, let's get you some reading lessons. Let's start meeting people where they're at. Instead of automatically assuming that they're raring and ready to go.
Exactly.
And they're already half a avalanche down a mountain with momentum
Right.
into recovery, because some people are not like,
Or they've dug the sand out and just climbed in that hole.
exactly. Yeah. And because there's lots of abuse and trauma and all sorts of things, and people are trying to assume that everybody's coming here on an even
Oh,
keel.
exactly.
And it's not the case. And
Yeah.
I think all of us as individuals and as fellowships need to do a better job of at least making an effort to find where people are and meeting them there, because we have that ability and they necessarily don't.
Exactly. But you just use the playing field sort of metaphor. That's one of my favorite ones, thinking about people coming in, on different playing, like we may be on the same playing field, but I think about a track, like a running track, and how when runners are starting, they're not
it's
starting in a
staggered.
line.
Yeah.
It's staggered. And yes, there is the finish line is also staggered, or else that would be unfair, but there is no finish line. So we're all just staggered.
Yeah.
And there's no finish line, but you have to remember that person behind you, and that leads us into like just being a fellowship member and making friends and not judging our peers, and like not, oh gosh, early in recovery I remember this sort of hierarchical manifestations of our disease, like judgment based on like, well, I'm not that bad because I don't do this. I don't sleep with a newcomer. I just steal
Some
shit.
are sicker than others.
Yeah, like
Fuck
no,
you.
they're both manifestations
you.
of the same disease. So
Yeah.
could you kindly
Yeah.
Check
maybe
your judgment,
maybe you started
friend.
on the outside track and you're a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
Like it's okay. Like
Right.
when I've really come to hate that. Oh, some are sicker than others. Like, you smug prick. Fuck you. Like,
God.
sorry.
There are some that are constitutionally incapable.
it was inevitable that if we were talking about this topic, we were gonna like go off on little tangents and rants.
I mean, the
I-
big book does say some are constitutionally incapable
Yeah.
of grasping this concept, and I do believe that is true.
Sadly, I do kind of believe that. Like,
There are some people who simply cannot grasp the concept.
that's a whole other tangent. I'm not going to go into
I know, right?
I'm going to go back to what a sponsee does. What should they do and what they do are two different things necessarily. What a sponsee needs to do is become and remain teachable.
Yes.
Ask for help and genuinely consider the legitimacy of the answer you're receiving.
Yes.
Because for the first time, especially in early recovery, it's answers we don't want. Like I think we've all experienced this. Like, we call our sponsor, like, really wanting them to co-sign a little bit of our bullshit. We're like, we want this answer. We want this answer. And you don't get that answer,
No.
and you hang up the phone, and you're like, fuck them. And then,
I
like,
hung up on my first sponsor a couple times.
and then, like, 30 days later, like, everything they say, like, comes true, and you're like,
Yeah.
fuck, they were right. But yeah, it's remaining teachable and being open to actually making those changes is what a sponsee needs to do. What about you, Eric? What does a sponsee do?
They work the fucking steps.
Hell yeah.
They take the fucking cotton out of their ears and put it in the
Shut
fucking
up.
mouth.
Shut up. You're full of shit. Shut up.
No, that's a welcome. I mean, I'm glad you're
He's-
representing that flavor of like.
He's being an asshole.
I'm being-
He's not being
that's
serious.
so not me,
No,
though.
it's not
No,
him
I
at all.
well, but still, it's I appreciate
an
the
old
focus on the
school.
step.
It is
the
true,
focus
yeah.
on the steps.
Well, no, I mean, David does know this about me. I've always given him and other people shit for not
working
doing the steps.
Yeah, it took me 11 years.
And Donnie just finished at 15,
15,
and I was
yeah.
like, I'd already gone through them twice. What the fuck are you all doing? Like, come
Somebody's
on.
got to be that voice for real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just like
somebody has
when
to
some
be that boot in the ass.
when
Yeah.
when you're going through the 6th step, right, and you have to get sick of yourself, if you don't have people in your life, like not necessarily your sponsor, because they may not be around to see every which way that your spouse or your loved one, like it's not their job. It should not
Yeah.
be that your spouse is taking your inventory. I mean, maybe it can be in some very, very healthy relationships. It's
Yeah.
probably rare, but like you
that's
need
not-
friends. You need
We're
real
not
friends who are going to actually help you get sick of yourself.
Lovingly push you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
and I that's a very difficult balance.
It's very difficult.
Because I have expectations of the people around me, and not like expectations, but like I want
I
the
tried
best
to
for
limit
you.
my
I want
expectations.
No,
of
but like
everyone.
That's good.
I have a desire to see them succeed, and when I see them not necessarily, reaching the potential I think they have,
Well-
I will be like, hey,
So none of my sponsees ever made it to a year. Did any of yours make it to a year, David? One of them did, right?
yeah, Noah made it to 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even like time. Like I don't even like thinking about things in time, which is not to be like the person who's
But-
like just for
But
today
in
is
early
hell. But
recovery, that's how the people think.
no,
is
I
they
know it
think in
is,
time.
and that meeting them where they are at, that's so important. I agree. It's true. It's just I don't even like. I just hate arbitrary. I'm like that. So when you said that, I just couldn't help but think about the whole like, don't get in a relationship till you have a year.
Oh, fuck
I just
that.
How can you learn how to be
sorry,
in a
what right do
relationship
you
in
have?
recovery unless you are in a relationship?
exactly
Like, is it a good suggestion for probably, I'd say the first 6 months, probably. It's probably a good idea, but like, is it a hard line? No. And also, like, because it doesn't matter. Those same problems of interacting in a relationship are going to come up whether you have 30 days clean or 30 years clean.
And the bottom line is, it's in my opinion, it's underpinned by savior complex. Stop trying to save everyone. Like I'm not predicting the future. I'm not a psychic. I'm not capable of determining whether or not you in a relationship at 3 months means you're going to relapse.
Yeah.
But more
The
importantly,
reality is you could marry that person and live happily
Exactly.
ever after.
And that's-
totally possible.
You
right.
could.
And I love to say that. And it's like, may not be the most common scenario. But the bottom line is, to me, is like they either will stay clean or they won't. I either would have stayed clean or I wouldn't, and it's like no one choosing anything for me was going to save.
Yep.
So anyway, but yes, please continue about what does the sponsor do?
He's done. Do the steps. Move on.
Okay.
Or do you, Tara?
Are you sure, Eric?
Oh yeah, that's no.
Okay.
Look at me. I'm the captain here.
Okay. My bad.
He thinks
kidding.
he's the captain.
I think my like
No, I don't think that at all.
what's coming out. I'm trying to
Eric can
I'm,
turn off my mic at any
I'm
moment.
like David is like
He has the
captaining
power.
and I'm like, wait, but are you sure? Like my codependency. Like, oh, but are you sure? Like,
Don't, no, this is the Wizard of Oz. Don't pay attention to
Okay.
man behind the curtain. Don't pretend. No, man
Damn.
behind the curtain.
I'm
It's fine.
controlling everything though.
So I know. Don't turn my mic off.
yeah. Well, so David, what you had said reminded me of. I mean, the way what you were first talking about, like meeting sponsees where they're at. I guess with that, I would say like sponsee's job is to just come exactly as you are. That's like number one, and
Yeah.
now let's see. Will I remember the second thing I thought of? Yeah, like come as you are. Obviously, do the steps. Because don't do the 1, 2, 3
why we
shuffle.
are here.
Keep it moving. And yeah, just be honest about where you are, where you're at, like what you were
Be
sharing.
honest, yes.
You've got to do. I mean, like the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. But it's critical in the relationship with your sponsor. And that includes.
Because we're not mind readers.
Right. And being honest with your network, if you've got the sense that maybe you need to switch sponsors, talk that out. don't just sit on that one. And that, that's a sensitive topic for me. I guess I feel like I need to give that a voice because I didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't regret, right? Like I'm right in this seat where I'm supposed to be in this moment. So everything happened the way it was supposed to, clearly.
Yeah.
But I still I'm so like.
There's times when it's like, hey, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Like, and because, there was a 3-year period where I didn't have a home group, and like, I would still go to people's anniversaries, but I was, kind of detached from the program.
This was your home group, David.
Yeah, it kind of was. Yeah. It was, we were diving into this at the time, but yeah, it is what it is. So what does a sponsee do?
I liked a lot of what you guys said. Like, with your answer was the word becoming that I got stuck on. And then coming as you are. Mm-hmm. And so, like, the two together for me is just like, okay, so, like, I got clean. And as I guess I hate this word, but I'm going to use it because I think it's the best one. Evolving as a clean person, I guess.
Why do you hate that word? That's a good word.
It is it's a good word. I wish I had a better one. Mm-hmm. Changing.
Yeah. Metamorphosizing.
Yeah. And so as I'm learning all this new stuff, I'm gaining a different version of self-awareness, and I can't use that as a blanket statement, though, and that's why the word becoming is so important, is because gaining the ability to just come as you are. And then once you know, you have the awareness that you're doing that, the responsibility is then to aim for that. Keep striving for exactly that point. And, that transfers into all the things you guys touch. It's just okay, if I am striving for that after I've learned this skill, then I automatically fall into being honest. I automatically fall into whatever level of willingness I have when I wake up that day. And my favorite part about a lot of the literature, and then just the spiritual principles in general, is how they all touch each other.
Yeah.
They just all connect. And she made me do this little chart of for values and everything. And that's how my brain
does it. Was it a red string crazy map like this ties?
Wait, someone else does that?
Yeah, everybody does that. Yeah, Pepe Sylvia.
Oh my God, yeah, that's what it is. It's literally Charlie in the Pepe Sylvia episode.
Yes. I keep getting all this mail.
I have no idea that anyone else did that.
Yeah, of course. Why not?
What? Okay, please continue. Oh my God.
What do you think? Thoughts are linear? What kind of psychopaths are we? No, we're not normal.
It was just the picture, I guess, in my head I have of what I'm trying to explain. It's just I have my top value in the way that one frames how I get to the other ones that I hold in esteem. Yeah. And they just it's I could do this crazy graph, but really if I am aiming for this one, it's gonna trickle into this.
It's gonna exactly. Yeah. Integrity is an umbrella for a ton of spiritual principles.
And the sponsor, by the way, just going back to what does the sponsor do?
Absolutely.
They also must not just remain teachable with their sponsor, but with their sponsees. When Kat brought that to me, it was and I was oh, you did it a different, but then I heard her explanation. I was oh, right. Now I feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not in an unhumble way. I was I was just oh my gosh, that's brilliant. You know, I didn't even think about how they technically, I could draw lines to every single value, touching every other value. I wouldn't have. So what, we don't necessarily need the lines because.
Yeah, we don't need the psycho room.
Right, the psycho room, right. We don't have to Pepe Sylvia this bitch. Okay.
Yes, we can.
We can, though.
Yeah, if that works for
there
you.
There is no Carol in HR.
No. All these people exist, and they've been wanting their mail for days.
Well, because that's the second part. It's just the other thing it made me think of is just remembering who I am and who I'm with. We're all in recovery, and if can sit and point out paradoxes in the literature, because humanity in general is just people of paradox.
Yes.
And then addicts way more heavy in that department.
Yes.
And so it's like the combined skill. I become these things, all the like trickle effect happens, and then the constant my just for today is just, and yeah. By like, if I want people to meet me where I'm at, I have to do the same. And it doesn't matter how much time like somebody I'm interacting with has, or like how adept they are at applying all the things. It's like I'm with anybody in a room, realistically adapt to where I'm at and who I'm with. And like that skill is one of my favorites of becoming a person who does things.
Yeah. And
Yes.
and it's ultimately like, this might sound shitty. It's like, is this person helping me like to move my life forward?
Well, because it's
And
taking
vice versa.
like initiative in like your own process. And like,
Absolutely.
I value that super highly because like it was so long that I wasn't able to.
Yeah.
And I
Being a
always
player in your own life.
Yeah, I like get anxious about like saying it, especially in early recovery as anything as blanket statement, because we are like individual as we are alike. But so like becoming with
That could be the underlying title. As individuals, we are alike.
Yes.
There. That's amazing.
But like becoming into like the awareness and everything, that was like such a huge part of it, is like I am taking initiative here, and that like fell into my umbrella of like responsibility. It's just like, okay, like I'm not gonna get help with this if I don't ask, just as in I'm not gonna be like open-minded if like I don't try. And it's just getting the picture to stay together
And
having help with it.
Yes.
That just, I don't know how it just triggered one of my favorite quotes is, once you awaken from the dream, you'll never sleep so soundly again.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, but once that coming to, that first spiritual awakening of, okay, I do have some power here. I do have steps to take.
Life may be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Just for today.
You can't untake the pill.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, fuck. It's like, oh, it's already in there. Shit. But also like, and everybody who's listening, I'm going to give you your science fact of the day with evolution, because, and metamorphosizing, changing. Do you guys know that the process between caterpillar and butterfly is still unidentifiable by science?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about
so
this a
there's a
lot.
stage in, becoming from caterpillar to butterfly called the magic soup, where where the caterpillar becomes liquid, and a liquid inside the cocoon, and then from that liquid becomes a completely new creature. Science does not know how it's happened. It is completely a mystery. Like you can.
If y'all could see my face right now.
Yeah, it is called the magic soup, because that is one of the one things that I'm like, okay, there has to be.
And this
there
is
has
why-
to be there has to be a higher power.
This is why
There's
nature
that
is-
does not happen
Exactly.
accident. Like that is such a miraculous,
So miraculous.
change that it's unbelievable to me.
This is why, I would say like mystery is
And the
so
fact
like
that
mystery in nature.
butterflies
is-
remember being caterpillars.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How
How do you know that?
Yeah. How do they know that they do?
I will tell you all. Everybody who's listening, you're getting some facts. So what they did is, with caterpillars, they introduced them to, this is really cruel and it's a terrible experiment, but it worked and it got results.
You sound like someone in the 50s.
It had to be done.
God.
It had to be done. No.
Lobotomies, no, they're terrible, but they get
Right,
results.
right,
God damn it.
right.
Like, Glenn,
We created Ted Kaczynski through
Yes.
these psychological
Yes.
experiments, but it worked. Damn it!
She has a
Glenn, get me a pack of Lucky
She has
Strikes. I have a-
hysteria. We have the answer.
Jesus. So anyway, they would expose these caterpillars to a scent, and right after they gave the caterpillars a scent, they would give them an electrical shock.
What?
And they did this over and over and over again. And then they waited until the caterpillars became butterflies, and then they exposed them to the same scent right before the electrical shock. And every time the butterflies smelled it, they freaked the fuck out.
Oh my God!
So they insinuated that they are reacting to the same scent from when they were caterpillars,
Yeah.
remembering that pain was going to come after it.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So that's how they prove that a butterfly does in fact remember being a caterpillar.
Wow.
Which is amazing for recovery and addiction, because even in, when we are
Wow.
our butterfly state and, we're flying on our own, when we get that, muscle memory or trigger memory
Yes.
or scent memory from our past, we can still freak out
Right.
from that pain.
And the only difference with us, right? And this is kind of like
Full circle.
core to the disease, at least in my opinion, is that what should be pain. We might freak out with butterflies in our stomachs, like excitement, right? We can misinterpret the signals,
yeah.
and that
Yeah.
is why, what do we say?
Because a
Playing
lot of
the
us
tape
love the
through.
pain.
Yeah,
We
and
love the
right,
pain.
and masochism is huge in our
Or we wanted
population.
to control the pain.
That's why when I hear there's this person, Kurt R. one time in this area had said to me, or not to me, but he shared in a meeting that he calls the disease self-destructive personality disorder. And I love that because it's like personality disorder
That's
denotes,
probably more apropos.
it really is. Like
Yeah.
personality disorders typically, the understanding in psychology anyway, I have a psych bachelor's degree, so I might understand a little. I'm not that qualified to talk on it, but anyway, it was like, that personality disorders are inexorable. They are not malleable. They do not adapt to things, right? So like it's so applicable in the sense, and like how do cluster B disorders, which is like borderline narcissistic and antisocial, and then there's one I'm missing. I think it might be histrionic. Those disorders, like the treatment option besides medication is like to basically have a mentor to guide you through
Yeah.
life. And it's like, sounds, because like
Sounds, yeah.
sounds like what we're doing here. You know what I mean? My ability to adapt and read the room, so to speak, and not be a masochist, not be a martyr, and not,
yeah.
get that pain shock and go, I'd love to do that again. You know what I mean? And find myself like on the brink of death again. Like it's not a thing without a person.
Yep.
To remind me, to help me play that tape.
Yeah.
But it does not mean that that's forever. That doesn't mean that I need to call 50 times a day, let alone every day. Right.
In the beginning, call, like anybody out there, call as many times.
Oh my God,
In the
yes.
beginning, call as many times as you like.
But like somehow we seem to be actually recovering, away from this inexorability, this lack of adaptability.
Yeah, here's the question. You ever not called your sponsor because you feel like a burden?
Oh my God, yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't really call my sponsor, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
Like,
because
I
you
mean,
were
we-
too busy in a lighthouse. I get it.
Well, we set up appointments, we didn't really talk.
Same with my sponsor now, not in the
Oh,
past.
that's hilarious. I just set up a fucking appointment.
That's how it is with my sponsor now. Like we have our every 2 weeks step working session, but there's like times she's in Florida, so
yeah. No, I get it.
it's been remote for almost as long as
Just the way
we've been.
Eric said it just sounded weird.
No, it's great. We have appointments though, and like, but however, if I call, she will return my call. I had a sponsor in between my testing out, who I called and left 3 voicemails over weeks, to say I'm ready to do my step 1, and I got a call back up like a month later, and it was, hey, so do you want to come with your sponsee sisters to come hear me speak? And I'm like,
No.
this the
I want
elephant
you to hear me
in
speak.
the room. Like, what are we here to do, friend?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
anyway.
Exactly.
She also wore Jesus puppets on her fingers at her first, or at her not first celebration, her celebration though. So
Whoa,
Excuse me, what?
Stop.
yeah, and then posted on Facebook about witchcraft and come and like, please everyone pray for my family to protect us from witchcraft.
Wait,
Eric, we're gonna swiftly move past this. There's
we're
too
not.
much to unpack.
We're not.
Too
God,
much to
it really
unpack.
is.
We gotta
now,
move. We gotta
was
move forward.
Jesus zombie Jesus or regular Jesus? It was
Oh,
Jesus black.
These were little felt Jesus finger puppets, Mary and all the
Ooh,
people.
They had the whole,
Oh, the
whole
ranger.
like
The
everybody.
manger.
yeah.
Yeah.
They
Huh?
were all finger puppets.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
manger of finger puppet at her anniversary.
Sure did. Yep. And I picked her because A, she was in recovery from bulimia and I didn't know anyone else who had that. But B, it was that her faith, like I perceived her as being intelligent, and I have this hang up, right, about believing in organized religion, right? And I'm working on that. So I'm going, I'm going to pick someone who has this faith in something that I think
To directly challenge
you
you.
to directly challenge it. So like my
kinda smart.
intentions
I like
were
that.
my intentions
I like
were
that.
were good. It's just once that witchcraft post, I was like, I gotta go.
Yeah, yeah. All right. This should be a short answer, just because we'll go through it just for the sake of it, because we've all answered it. How do you get us, or how do we get a sponsor? Just like we've talked about,
You ask.
yeah, don't just go to somebody randomly and just ask them. I mean, you can do that for sure. That's 50-50 how that's going to go. But just listen to people in a meeting, do a little bit of homework. And once they say something that appeals to you, then you just go ask them.
Mm-hmm.
You just go ask them. Once you're like, I think this, I vibe with this person. They're saying things that, sound like answers to what I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Then you just go ask. How do you get a sponsor?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much that.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple question.
Or you let them
'Cause, like,
hound you.
Well, yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add is just I don't know. For me, it's just one of those things. I asked my first one.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way I got sponsors and generally happened because I was so used to just sharing in a group setting.
Yeah.
And so me going to meetings, I didn't have a problem with, I mean, I have social anxiety. It feels like an aneurysm every time I speak in front of people. But saying what's on my mind, exactly how I'm thinking, it wasn't hard. And so I'll mention in a meeting I'm having housing problems or what's the sponsorship. And then people come up to me, and so it's you can go one of two routes: do your homework and stuff like that, or come as you are, and then don't control the response. It's just staying open to either you or your environment, because I don't know, I moved out and then continued meetings because even if I didn't want it, even if I have commitment issues with breathing, I still need to change so bad.
Yeah.
It just did.
Yeah.
And
There's still the thread of hope in there.
yeah.
No, the thread of hope.
And so let it happen and see where it goes. And I do heavily suggest the whole a little bit of research beforehand, because I approach everything a little too unresearchable with a lot of opinions still.
Yeah.
Always research. Do your research.
Yeah, do your research. That would definitely help. But that's what I did.
Eric's level of research was ridiculous. He's the only drug addict I've ever known that researched the drugs he was doing.
Oh, I know
I
one
did
too.
that?
Yeah,
I did not.
she did
Okay,
too.
never mind. I'm a reckless piece of shit.
I'd same.
I was like, what is this? A powder?
I'm reckless
Cool.
and impulsive.
Yeah. I was like, it's a powder? Okay, I can
It
do
looks
that.
like it could be heroin.
Yeah.
So
This looks like a drug
Huh?
to me.
What
I'll
is
take this.
what is cod? Huh?
But he would actually Google his shit and go on to Erowid and all this shit.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
didn't have time for that.
that's how my
I
friend,
didn't have time
my
for
friend
that.
Adam was.
I was gonna be high by
I
the time you
literally-
were done reading.
I'm doing a
I don't have
12-step
time for that
pulling
shit.
pulling my friend out of his relapse. His place of living. I'm not pulling him out of his relapse, but I'm pulling him out of his place of living at the time. It's like a meth house, and he's explaining organic chemistry to me.
That's cool.
And I'm like,
Is there a
what?
dragonfly in the tattoo?
Yeah,
Oh,
okay. That's their other logo.
Yep,
one
yep,
of their other
yep.
logos.
But yeah, organic chemistry. I mean, why not? Right? That's
Exactly, because he
get-
was explaining how to make GHB. I was like, thank you.
guess
Can
I'm
we
just-
go to
Oh,
rehab now?
GHB is one of the college chemistry class drugs you can
Exactly.
make. Yep.
Wow, that seems responsible.
Gamma hydroxybutyric
We've
acid.
talked about
believe?
this. We
Yeah.
were we had someone come on and,
Or that's
he was like, "Oh yeah, I used to
butyrate,
make
actually.
drugs in college." And I was like, "What?
Yes,
like
I remember.
GHB
Yeah,
and
that was
LSA?"
Randy. Yeah, it was Randy.
And he was like, "Yeah, exactly."
Yeah, he was the off campus pharmacist is what he called
Well,
himself.
dude, I appreciate hearing that though, because it was either I'm doing whatever is in front of me, or I'm
That's
in
what
this
I did,
controlled environment, and so I was the person that that's where desperation took me. It was just okay, you gave me this pill. Let's see if it has this ability.
It's the right thing to do.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
I'm not.
be
No,
honest.
absolutely. You guys actually researching
Yeah.
your shit was the way to go about it.
Self-preservation
I didn't care.
somehow came through. There's
Mine
a
did
self-preservation aspect in that. even if technically what you're trying to do is control,
Yeah.
you ended up with like a side of self-preservation.
So
We'll take it.
So
you know,
here's something, my sponsor said in early recovery to me, because he was like, in active addiction, somebody puts this in front of you and says, take it. And you're like, okay,
yeah,
cool, no problem. I suggest you take this.
Right.
Cool, no problem. But then we come into recovery, and somebody who's genuinely trying to help us is saying, here's a suggestion. You should take this. And we're like, why?
Right.
We have the audacity to fucking ask a question from somebody who's trying to help us. Meanwhile, Joe Blow on the corner who's offering
Exactly.
us random pills. We're like, cool, 3 of them, please. No
exactly.
problem.
That's that question in step one
just
that
like-
asks us, or
drugs.com
step 2 rather. I
and pill
think.
identifier will help you identify those pills if you don't know what they are. Just from
Yeah, anybody
a
who's out
harm
there still
reduction-
listening, yes,
Still
there are
using-
apps for pill identifier.
From a
Please
harm
download
reduction-
the app. Don't just take random
Self-preserve,
pills.
self-preserve, please.
Yes, you being alive is the most important thing.
Right. But step 2 has that question that says, is there anything that I've ever done or like where I didn't have any evidence to believe that it would happen and yet I did it anyway, right?
Yeah.
And I remember the
Drugs.
first time somebody gave me that example. Hey, you gave your money to any weirdo who claimed they could get you drugs, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I be any weirdo and you listen
Yeah.
to me now?
But then I want to. But then I have the audacity to be closed-minded when people are trying to help me. Like, what?
Right. It's almost like we are allergic to like
To help.
The big book talks about an allergy, to drugs, but no, I mean that's valid. And also I seem to be allergic to real help, right?
Well, and Eric, like this has been a recurring theme in the last like couple weeks, like between Eric and I's like conversation is the dichotomy of isolation and connection. Because addiction is isolation in all forms. Your mental state, your emotional state, your spiritual state is completely isolated, even from yourself. And the biggest way to combat that is connection. You have to you have to reconnect with yourself. You have to connect with other human beings, and you have to find a level of. And I don't say spirituality in any sort of religious sense. Like I say spirituality in a thirst for life.
In a revive your spirit way.
Exactly. Love that. Yes. Revive your own spirit as a human being.
Yeah, because if you're
I love
if
that
you're
so
using
much
it's
more.
dead.
Yeah.
Like that spirit,
Yeah.
you may your heart may be beating, man, but
But I didn't care. I didn't care if
me
it
neither.
was. Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Benzos and opiates. Blub blub down the hatch.
Right.
Blub, blub.
What about you, Eric? How do you get a sponsor?
Wait, didn't we already answer this one?
We have. That's why it was. We were doing a short answer.
Oh, you just asked.
Okay, perfect. Nailed it.
That's it.
And sticking with you, Eric, when should we get a sponsor? Which is I'm just asking the final 2 questions.
Man,
hopefully,
when
even though we've
should we
pretty
get
much
a
answered
sponsor?
them.
I would
Yeah.
say between 3 and 6 months.
Oh, you're going with an exact date.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah,
3
I
and 6
don't. I
months.
think the first 3 months you shouldn't have a sponsor. You
Okay.
should get the lay of the land and figure out who you want.
The research aspect.
Yeah, research.
Yeah.
Because you can be
That's
a little
fair.
too impulsive, and then you're in a relationship that you're not really that stoked about.
I think that's reasonable opinion. What about you? When
I
should
think
we
that's
get a
reasonable
sponsor?
too, because at least for me, right? Like I said, I have a real big issue with staying in things too long. So, although I'd love to sit here and say that to answer both questions is how to get a sponsor, don't ask another not how to get a sponsor, right? Is don't say if you've never had a sponsor, I'm talking to those listeners, don't bother with the will you be my temporary sponsor? Because it's like
Do you want to temporarily?
we're all
recover?
temporary.
Yeah.
We quite literally are all
Jesus.
temporary. No, and I
love
mean,
it.
I don't
We're all
even mean that in a
temporary.
life and death thing.
No, I know.
Something I would say.
But David,
Yes,
you
it is,
quite
Eric.
literally learned that. It sounds like you may have left that sponsor prior to him passing away.
Yeah.
But nonetheless,
Yeah.
but I wasn't even
But he was still
going
one
there.
of my best fucking friends in early recovery.
Yeah, and I mean we're all temporary, but I don't even mean it in life and death. I mean that
Yeah.
you can quite literally
It's not a marriage.
have that sponsor for a month and leave. But my problem is I won't do that. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
know myself well enough to know that I am powerless over this codependent loyalty, and I'm working on that now. But at 30 days clean, I might not have. So I like what
Yeah.
Eric said.
Because we don't even trust ourselves to make a good decision. So
Yeah.
when we think we are making a good decision, we're like, well, we have to stick with this one until it comes off the fucking rails and crashes to our own detriment.
Yeah, so I just agree with him.
When should you get a sponsor?
Oof. I don't even know how to answer that. I don't.
There's no wrong answer,
Well, yeah, like
except for never. And that is not even necessarily a wrong answer. Depends on the individual.
yeah, for me, like when I understood what was going on, that's why I also like his answer. I'm
Perfect.
not like crazy on definitive dates.
Yeah.
But like important, like for me, like it's just nothing really could be till I was ready because I didn't even know what that meant. And
Right.
most of the time, if you ask me, like probably not. And I'm still going to show up and do this shit anyway.
That's the perfect answer. When,
Yeah.
when you're ready.
Yeah.
And
When it feels right.
yeah, and I'll just mirror that. Yeah, when you're ready, get a sponsor. If it's first 2 weeks, great. If
Right.
it's at 6 months, 9 months,
Yeah.
great. You know, when you know it's the correct time because honestly, going back to that, if you're forcing it, then
It doesn't.
then it's not going to work.
Right.
No, it doesn't.
Because that's just recovery in general.
Exactly.
If I'm trying to force this thing into place when I'm not ready, then
And kind of to what you said, Kat, like on the sort of what you said, but also kind of the flip side is coming into recovery, you may not know when you're ready. So
Yes.
you may get that sponsor because ready to you means the anti-ready. Like you literally don't know if you're ready, therefore it's time to get a sponsor, right?
Yeah.
Like it could be
Yeah.
that because you don't know anything about yourself or what any of this is, you just
Yeah.
are like, well, I guess today I'm going to get a sponsor because I feel like I have a little bit of hope that maybe I won't feel so much like I don't know what the fuck any of this is
Yeah.
tomorrow because I'll have had that sponsor.
yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's like the similar thing of it's just like another inverse example. Like, okay, so you went to the random guy with money and just like, okay, you'll give me drugs. So can that your sponsor be the random weirdo now?
Yes.
And the same thing
Yeah.
with like Ready is like, oh God, it was just in my head. I hate that so much. Yeah. Can you repeat?
Oh yeah, like you may not know when you're ready because you lack the intuition or the self-awareness to really know.
Yeah, that's what it was. So when I was like, the version of me that used anything in front of me is like, I can take that, inverse it, and be like, okay, today I'm staying clean with what I have. Like, what I have my hands on, is that my motivation today? I'm going to go there and be open to, the possible consequences. That's why in early recovery, it's just like the listening aspect of when I go to meetings and whoever's in my network helps me, like, helps guide what I have in the moment for the sponsorship aspect. So, like, I heard all these things and, like, is just when I'm ready that day. Is that the day I'm taking the motivation and doing the action?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that actually goes, is the parallel antithesis. When I asked you what was your drug of choice, what do I have? Okay, how am I going to recover with what I got?
Yeah.
Very good.
Love that.
Mic drop.
All right. Boom, we're done here. No. Eric, do you have any other points or questions you would like to bring up?
Did we finish the
pamphlet is
pamphlet?
over. I have a couple points, but I wanted to ask you first.
No, you go first.
Well, then I'm going to defer to the ladies. Do you have any points of sponsorship that you would like to bring up? Or questions you'd like to ask?
There was just one thing. I think there's might have been quite a few
I'm
things
sure,
that came up,
yes,
but
exactly,
anyway, the one thing.
Lots of things come through the transom.
Yeah, I mean, like, because I started sponsoring with a year clean. I started sponsoring after, like, in the middle of a fourth step. Not even in the middle. I was just beginning.
I didn't have a sponsee forever.
Yeah, that's a question that's not in the pamphlet. When should I become a sponsor, right?
That's a great question.
That could be there is the sponsorship
That's a great question.
the booklet, like the actual literature.
That is the worst piece of literature.
Yeah, no one sells it.
No.
Which one?
The sponsorship book.
Nas went so far out of their scope of responsibility.
it's not-
Sure, read it if you want, but like once you're not.
Please don't make us as formulaic, right?
I read it and I was like, this is trash.
It's like living
I was like, this-
sober. It's just a book that should be thrown away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I became a sponsor a little, like, what would, I received a lot of flack but my sponsor was like, yes, go for it. You need to be of selfless service, and
Yeah.
you need to be of selfless service in the way that I know, like, for her, right, is like, this is the sentiment. I'm not quoting, but
Yeah.
you need to be of selfless service in the way that I know has anchored me here, right? And that's one point. I guess I have two. One point is just that, like, if anyone out there is saying to themselves with 2, 3, even a year clean, that they don't think they're ready, please know that none of us know when we're ready, just like what we were talking about when to get a sponsor.
Yeah.
We do, like, I had no idea because I didn't know what the fuck it was. All I knew was what my sponsor was doing, and she was doing it with grace and poise in my perception, and she was doing it to the best of my ability, and she was to some extent being honest about winging it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
what we're all doing. I mean, it's like what you hear when parents say that they don't know when they're ready either. Like, we're not, and not to conflate that parents are like sponsors, or sponsors are like parents,
Kinda
but sometimes you can fall into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you don't know when you're ready. And I will say that, like, my 1-year celebration right before then, right, had been the most amazing day. Like, I was like, oh, that's when my hope really burgeoned, because it was like, I thought getting high, thank you. I thought getting high was the highest.
Yeah.
And then I was in my 1-year celebration bawling my eyes out 2 minutes into my story, right?
Yeah.
So therefore embarrassed. There's all these other feelings, but literally that storm.
That's why. That's why my first year was at the midnight meeting, so nobody could see me cry.
Yeah.
My tears will be in darkness.
There were like 70 people there. There were people from my high school, friends of mine that had come.
Oh God.
I had people from like
geez.
6 different areas that had traveled out there, and I'm not saying that to boast. I am saying that there was a storm, that storm of 2012 in June, that knocked all the lights out for a week.
Yeah.
These
The
people are
derecho.
driving home. Yeah, derecho. Oh, yeah, and they're driving home from my celebration.
We talked about that last
We
time.
did.
'Cause I was
Yeah.
tripping on
Call
acid
back.
during the derecho.
Yeah, and the ceiling
was
the
I.
ceiling tiles are flying away. Like, it's a whole
You
thing.
were on acid too during that, dude.
Yeah, me and my
Me
cousin,
too,
me and my
man.
That's
cousin
crazy.
split a 10,
That's fucking
like split a
hilarious.
10.
I can't even imagine. but that's mostly because
it
I've
was
never did
terrifying.
acid.
It
So
was
It was
yeah.
scary as
Yeah, don't do that.
fuck.
yeah, so we, that was an amazing night, and I found out that it's actually, was a better high because
Yeah.
it was real. And then guess what? It was topped the first time I took a sponsee through step 1. So anyway, please stop saying to yourself that you don't know when you're ready. If you really aren't, then like that'll show itself. Don't go
Yeah.
out there and cause harm. But if you don't know if you're ready, that's great, because it puts
Yeah.
you in a humble place to really remain teachable as a sponsor too, and to learn what it really means. But it also, there's just no greater high. And I hate to use the word like high, but it is what it is. Like, there's no more genuine, and now I'll start crying. There is no more genuine, like, joy in this life, I know,
Yeah.
than to watch the light come into someone's eyes.
Oh yeah.
And so that's the main point I've got.
And especially like really like one of the biggest, most recent hits was getting like 10 years. 10 years like was really surreal. And
Surreal, that's the word.
yeah, and then because I came into these rooms at 25, and Eric was right around the same age, and a lot of my friends who were right around the same age, and like luckily a good amount of us, which a good amount I'm saying is like 12 of us,
Yeah.
have stayed clean.
Wow, that's amazing.
And so now we have variances of 11, 12, 13 up to
Yeah.
like Donnie, who has like 15 years clean. And so like there was like this 3-4 year span where all these mid 20s,
Yeah.
and now
We had that down in Central Maryland.
and now we're the old heads and we see
Exactly.
young kids.
Mhm.
And like it sucks to say that because like I'm like I'm 37, I'm still young. And it's like no, I'm not.
Shut up.
You're still young.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
I am still young, therefore you must still be young.
Yes. Okay. We're all young in this
Okay,
room.
yeah.
There's nothing but young.
So young, living so young. Endlessly young, forever young.
But no, like seeing these 20, 21 to like 25-year-olds coming in, washing ashore, and I'm like, oh shit, I was them.
Yeah.
And just trying to like impress upon them that like I'm like, please, like come get this perspective of 10, 12 years in your mid 30s, and
I know.
it's surreal because like and have you ever been like in those meetings where like the air is special? Like
Sure.
a lot of meetings like are just routine. And, like, we go,
it
we go, we
happens so
go.
much
And then
at Keep It Real. That's
every
why
once in
it's
a
my
while, it's
answer.
just like, and you're just like, that something's happening.
Yes.
Like this.
That
is,
was
like,
because I put nitrous in the.
Oh my God,
filtration.
Eric!
You step X'd us, you bastard.
Oh my God, that was great.
Yo, me and my in like year 2 and 3, me and my
No, that
friend
was
Zach,
ninjas.
we created the extra steps, which were just terrible.
Nuh-uh.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we went up to 15.
Yo.
It was
Yeah,
really
Oh.
so step everybody knows what step 13 is, and then
Uh-huh.
step 14 was helping to accelerate somebody towards their bottom. And you're like, you're actually helping them. It's like, oh, really? Have you-
Yes, I actually
Yes.
agree with that.
Yeah, like,
Ah.
oh, you're still out there? Try the pumpkin spice crack.
Would
It
you
is
like me to
really
drive
the
you?
rage this
Yeah,
time
I'll
of year.
drive you.
I'll drive you.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be great. And then we'll get you to rehab, and we'll
But
hit that bottom and
works with-
bounce back up.
It works with defects too.
Yes.
Like, let me help you get to your by basically unfriending you.
And then
or
I couldn't remember what step
being a
fucking
jerk.
15 was, but
Back.
then we created a step X. And this is terrible. This is all just joking, people. This is tongue-in-cheek humor. But we were like, you go to a convention and you spike the fucking the punch with acid to just Fight Club the whole situation so there are no more predecessors.
The
So
degree of
everybody-
controversy right now.
It's just insane.
God.
There are no more
There are no more predecessors. We're all
and then it's done. Game over.
It's all game over.
Wait. It's step. So that was step.
Yeah, that was
15,
step
but
X.
step 16. Oh, okay, yeah.
We were just
I
step
would go
X. It was
XX and
terrible.
say like maybe do like a whole Jim Jones situation with some.
Oh
cool-
God, with some Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
Jesus.
We'll just be done.
That's dark.
You can cut that out.
That's like world.
the black
that's
step.
the world convention.
That's the black step. No. So back to the real question:
my God.
when should you be a sponsor?
Oh, that was the question.
That's the question.
No, I thought we were doing points, additional points.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your additional
Oh,
point
yeah.
was like when, because you asked like
when to be a sponsor, right?
When to be a sponsor.
Kind of made that. Mhm.
I kind of take it like this. Sort of like with people on the street asking for help.
Yeah.
If I say no, that's on me.
Right.
Because a lot of people are like, oh, they're just gonna go get high with that, or they're gonna go blah blah blah. And I'm like, I don't care
I give money to
what
people on
they're
the street.
going to do with it,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a human being that's asking me for help.
Yeah.
If I say no in that scenario,
Yes.
it makes
Well,
me a
you
piece
say
of
no
shit.
a lot,
Well,
right? But
I say no when if I genuinely don't have any cash, like I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Oh,
but
yeah.
but I'll be like, I'm walking into the 7-Eleven. Can I get you some water or something to eat?
Yeah, and I totally
sometimes
agree.
they say yes, sometimes they say no.
Except for the piece of shit part. Gonna reframe you for a second. Maybe you just robbed yourself of the chance to feel
Yes,
good
exactly.
about
Yeah,
doing some service.
I'm not necessarily a piece of shit, but like I'm saying no to helping
Yeah.
another human being. Like this journey on this planet is not fucking easy.
Right.
Like this shit is difficult. And if somebody is coming to me asking me for help in recovery, and I have 90 days clean and they have 90 minutes clean,
Yeah.
I'll be like, yes, I will help you. Like, and whether, like, whatever, just like we talked about, like, a sponsor isn't necessarily your sponsor. Sometimes it's somebody in your network.
It harkens to Fight Club again.
Yeah.
Single serving friend. It's a single serving sponsor.
Single-serving friend.
A single serving friend. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I love that part of the movie.
Me too.
Maybe I'm only, their sponsor for a week.
Yeah.
And then, I get them. I'm like, hey man, the helping out mission would really help you.
Yeah.
Or some sort of scenario like that. Or this person can really help you. Like sometimes, like you're not always a final destination. Sometimes you're just a stepping stone or a conduit to something, you know, that they need. And, you know, the universe puts you synchronistically along that same path to help that person. So, like, my opinion is when somebody asks you for help, you help them.
Yes.
So that's when you should be a sponsor.
When Eric's
the
a steward.
opportunity,
Yeah.
You know, keeping it bare bones, you're
when-
not guaranteed to become friends, like you said, Eric.
Yeah.
Like that can happen. But if you're just a single serving, if you're a steward, then it can be okay to just help to the extent that you're needed.
Which
Be
is
the conduit.
which is good. I mean, that's the purpose of the job, right?
I mean, that's
you
the
should
purpose
be
of
honored.
recovery in general, is to help each other. Like, that's why we're here. What's your problem and how can we help? Boom. That's it.
Oh, you know, on that note, I was just gonna say, like, back to what a sponsor does. They, like, the big book says, because I was all pissed off about why do they use the word recovered? And then I found out because it says we have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind. So my job as a sponsor is to show someone what it's like to not be hopeless. There is a solution. You know?
So I have a question for you about the big book. How do you feel about it as like reading it from a woman's perspective? Because like it upsets me as like a male. So like, how do you feel when
I'm
you
a
read
bad
it?
one to ask because I had a really good dad.
Okay.
Therefore, I have actually no issue with the patriarchy whatsoever. I also never,
That's funny.
I never
That's
tremendously,
amazing.
so I don't call myself gender fluid whatsoever. Like I am absolutely a girl, but I'm just the wrong one to ask because I never so over-identified with being female. I just never saw the world like that.
No,
I guess
but
it's the for the wives chapter.
Oh, that part, yeah,
and the
yeah.
subtle
Super
racism that's like
That is,
throughout
you're
the
right.
entire
No,
book.
yeah. I guess I'm grateful. I think
that book is
skimmed
bordering
that
on
part.
100 years old.
Right.
Like,
There's
might need a rewrite.
absolutely. There
Might
are
need an
there's pieces of that
But they're
book that are
dude,
cringy.
They're thumpers of that book. They're like, it works. Why change it? And by that token, I'm like,
I know. I'd like to
you're
now.
right.
You make because my mom's in AA, and now Eric, because listen. I didn't pay attention to anything I didn't need. Like I took what I needed and left the rest. Yeah. And so that's my point. It's not that it wouldn't have bothered me, but I think when I got to For the Wives, I was like, not a wife. Moving on.
So,
okay. So you just passed
we've
it.
talked to we've talked to other women, and not to shit on the big book or AA, but yeah, like For the Wives is
As a
very-
concept,
is
it's bad.
But some women are totally fine with it too, which is what I don't get. Is they're just they're like, well, it worked back then. I'm like, but it doesn't work now.
It doesn't
and that's
work
the
now.
problem that I have. Is like,
yeah, when your man is getting home, make sure you have a nice meal ready for him.
Oh my God, it says that.
if you're talking about
Pretty much.
if you're talking about old AA, like
God.
living sober is the best.
Well, it
for
was
like
written
that
in
sort
the
of shit.
30s.
I know.
So
Yeah.
women were not
Now I am
in-
mad.
ne-
Okay,
were
I'm mad
not
now.
in- we converted one.
You know what?
Yes.
I would like to remain. I'm just not ever going to read that
just be
section.
ambivalent
Pretend
to
it
it.
doesn't
Yeah,
We're-
exist.
don't
we're
read
moving
it.
on.
It's like, I mean, it's a bummer, and it's a
I
bummer
mean,
that
you know,
it's not
I guess,
updated,
and then
I
the
guess.
devil's advocate in me is like, wait, did they just think that addiction didn't affect females?
Yes,
Because, like,
that's
Yes.
what I feel
Okay.
like that's what Dr. Bob and
But
Bill
also,
were talking
when
about.
that book was written, they were still giving lobotomies to
right,
addicts.
right.
So,
So
maybe you
read
should
the
update
room.
it a
We're doing
little.
better.
Read the room.
Yeah.
But then
the room has changed.
has it though? Because in the Philippines, they're just killing addicts. So
well,
that's not
is that
great.
Philippines or is that
That's the
I thought that was
Philippines.
Myanmar or
Myanmar?
Myanmar, yeah.
No, it's the Philippines.
Holy
It's-
shit!
Oh, wow.
That tracks
It's
me.
terrible.
Dad was born
Yeah,
there.
if you're on the side of the road and you're suspected, they literally just have kill squads. They're like, you're dead.
Oh my God.
Yeah, if you're nodding out on the side of the road, it's like, no, I'm just tired. Yeah, whatever, druggy.
Talk about playing God. Talk about like not natural selection, unnatural.
Addict, and if you're actually convicted, you're sentenced to death.
Jesus.
It has been a genocide of addicts in the Philippines.
Y'all be just
over the
up in
last-
here opening my eyes.
It's bad.
I'd be over here like some ostrich with my head in the sand.
You know, it's a myth.
Okay, never mind. Jesus, opening my eyes all over the place. I can't even use a metaphor.
Sorry, wildlife facts. I'm a terrible person.
Oh my God.
What?
the animal facts, and
I
so
love
if
it. She
has
anyone
them
like
too.
draws the parallel, I'm like, well, actually though,
Yeah.
I seem
Well,
to have
I
inadvertently
can't help
surrounded
it.
myself. Like my best friend Adam also knows all the animal facts, and I can't.
Oh, yeah.
I need to just remember to stay away. Let me learn a lesson for once. Stay away from animal metaphors. Tara.
One of my big pet peeves is I'm like, oh, what's your favorite big cat? And people are like, Black Panthers. I'm like,
That's
that's not a
not a
thing.
big- that-
Like,
that's
it's
not-
not a thing.
Okay,
Dude,
first
tell-
off, there's only one answer, and it's a leopard.
What kind of leopard?
Snow leopard. Sorry.
What are we talking about? Are we talking about an Amur leopard? We talking a snow leopard? We talking about an African leopard?
African
We
leopard.
talking about a clouded leopard?
An African
Go look at
leopard.
a clouded
African leopard has the best kill rate of anything besides a domestic cat.
That's not true.
I think it is true.
No, look at jaguars.
wow.
Jaguars have
Domestic
these.
cats have like their kill rate's like 70%.
Did we all know that
Jaguars-
feline AIDS is the biggest killer of domestic cats?
Yes,
No, I'm
my ex-girlfriend.
Okay,
her cat had
we've gone
feline
off the
AIDS.
rails.
It's
No, I'm-
We've
so
gone off the
sad.
rails.
I'm literally just quoting Debbie Downer, the SNL sketch. Sorry.
Do you have any points about sponsorship you'd like to bring up, Kat?
Um,
Don't feel pressured. If you don't, you can say no.
no, I don't have any points. I just had a lot of things that like it triggered my brain, and like your whole butterfly magic soup thing, like no real statistic shit.
Yeah, real. Yeah.
I have a way too like literal application of it. Like I had 12 sessions of ECT.
Oh, really?
And I'm a person who had adverse memory side effects. And so like
Oh,
electroshock therapy.
really?
Yeah.
How does that still fucking exist?
Yeah, it does. It
Because
definitely
we are
does.
primitive creatures.
I was 16.
Jesus.
That is awful. My God.
Abuse? Abuse.
Yeah, for real.
And so, like you were
Institutional
saying, like the smell thing, and then they shock these animals. Like, hey, like I get that because like my
God.
short term sucks, but like there's this like stretch of long term where it gets real spotty. But when I was in one of the rounds of treatment, and so like I'll be throughout my day, and something. I can't even name what it is because the time I don't remember, but it's like some random smell or sound. But the best example I have is like, I'll be in the rooms and hear about like stories of, I go to the doctor. It's like free drugs, basically. I go under anesthesia and I have panic attacks because all I remember is getting put under and then being given a seizure. Like that's my butterfly application.
God. Oh, God.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I feel awful now.
No.
Damn it. My animal facts thwarted me.
No, but it's
love it
important to
though.
remember.
Yeah.
Sometimes, if you're in a therapeutic environment. And that's the reopening old wounds. Like
Yeah.
that type of thing needs to be let out. You need to share
Well,
it.
that was like my favorite, like my whole favorite thing about the sponsorship aspect in general is that like I come to this person with like my lifetime of experience, however limited or not it might be, and then tell a story and explain how my brain is working to show it like how it all connects and why. And just like being heard. I think that's the most important thing I think I want anyone to take away from this is just from either side, sponsee or sponsor, is just falling into the skill, learning however it happens, seeing that person. It's just like
Yeah.
the feeling of being seen is so important.
validation.
Yeah. Because like if you have a sponsor that like has learned that, then it helps like I don't struggle as hard in every other area that I exist in of like seeking it. And I'm not a huge like seeker anyway, but I'm a person that gets confused in the face of strong opinions. Like I just do, like I zap out because I know I believe what I do, like as hard as I do. The problem is I don't have like a whole lot of experience in all the things I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if I tell somebody something I believe and they have like, I guess the opposite of that, and they're presenting it to me, if they sound like,
Combative.
if they sound combative or it is
Toxically positive or
or it's
something.
more put together than how my brain operates, and I don't have any other area of my life where I'm like being seen, then immediately like, oh, okay. And like, I just won't voice myself.
Yeah.
And
Shut
like,
down.
Yeah, I just shut down.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, but internally I know that I know what I'm doing, but I can't show anyone else.
Right.
Because like, I don't understand the feeling of being seen. That's why I think it's so important. It's just like, sit there and be like, come as you are. And like, it's fucking okay. I hear you.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, that's my favorite part about it.
Same.
That's beautiful. All right. Well, my last question is, if you have one specific, memory of either sponsorship or a specific part of like doing the steps that have been really poignant to you, what are they? And I'll start with you, Eric.
So this is something I wouldn't recommend. When I was working my first,
Not a good start, but keep going.
my first 6-step, the girl I was dating at the time was also working her 6-step.
Oh, fun.
I see where this is going.
And I would just highly recommend that if you're in a relationship with another person in recovery, that you don't end up being on step 6 at the same time, because it did not work out very well in the end.
That's fair.
And that is, that's where I stand on that.
All right. Step work or sponsorship? God, Kat, you just nailed the head. You nailed it right on the head. Feeling seen, especially going through a 4-step. Like especially my sponsor Herb, who's crazy ass fucking story, and like I want to be ashamed about what I did, like who I perceived myself to be, or what I had done, and then he's just like, that it? Okay, that's not that bad. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So the 5th step, a part of leading into the 5th
4th,
step.
yeah. 4 and 5 is really 4A and 4B.
Yeah,
In reality,
agree.
Like it's not really a 5th step. Like it's just the second part of the 4th. But that's digression. But no, probably my most practical part of like sponsorship and step work was browbeating myself through step 3 because I didn't understand the practical application of turning my will and my life over. And I'm like, I'm trying to, conceptualize this higher power and put it in a box so I can explain it to everybody whenever they ask.
Right.
And I just couldn't do it. And he was like, listen, stop what you're doing. He was just like, here, just make a list of what the things you like, what is your higher power? Is he loving or are they, not he, I don't believe it's he. Anyway, loving, caring, generous, all those things. Do those things.
Yeah.
That's you turning your will and your life over.
Right.
Because you want to be dishonest and uncaring and isolated. So the antithesis of that, your spiritual principles, your spiritual guide is this list. Do those things.
Yeah.
And that's living a 3rd step. And I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I can do that. And I've loved, it's been my favorite step ever since.
The 3rd step.
Yep.
Same.
Yep. Nice.
Same. I say it all the time.
Nice.
But and it's funny too because
And for you, out of your first 4, what's your favorite so far? Eric's favorite is number 10.
Yep. But my second is 3.
That's good.
love it.
Mentally, like probably had the best time writing my the last first step I did. Mostly because I guess what I mentioned at the beginning, it was just I took like everything that like I had awareness of and was like writing out exactly how I was thinking it and found a new way to say it. So like because the way I talk to myself isn't going to disappear in a day. But like now that like, because overarching for that really is just, I find the value of like my like practical application and like the ability to understand the extremes that I do. Because being seasoned like is probably number 1, but it's I don't know if it's a principle or not, balance.
Sure.
The balance
Sure
of
is.
it. is really kind of what you explained. Like, I live in morbid existentialism every day. And so, like, I think about things like in 10,000 different ways all the time. But like how paradoxical it gets. Like, I don't know how to word it. Yeah, so like reframing the self-talk was like super important, and like I enjoyed it. But I like step 2 because like it was the first time I felt angry and just like let myself like be fucking angry.
Nice.
Like,
Hell yeah.
because I had done it before, like growing up, like it was a different like flavor. Like, it was not the extreme. It was like, I'm having these massive emotions and it's not controlling my life. And but like, I'm allowed to be. That's what it is. Is like the ability to say like, I'm allowed to do this.
To grant yourself space to be that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
To be angry and have it not like ruin my internal self or harm anyone else was phenomenal. Step 3 was irritating. Because like,
I get it.
that's where like weirdly my pragmatism came out. I was like, I cannot make this like I can't paint a picture. How do I do this? Like what you said. And it's like literally, okay, choose a thing that's bigger than me. My higher power is anything that has the ability to operate within itself. That's just all it was.
Yeah.
And then like I applied that to like how I work, and that's what it is. And then I left it there because the black and whites is like, I'll think about everything and then not let go of the one I landed on.
Yeah.
Kind of what you mentioned, like right until the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, being able to differentiate is my favorite.
All right. Sorry to cut you off.
You're good.
Your sponsorship or step working moment.
Yeah, well, okay. So like I have a quite a lot of moments of like
Yeah.
being sponsored, favorites. Most of them being in the last 5 years.
It could be it could be sponsee or sponsor.
Well, yeah, no, I have a lot of that. But like just most recently, I would say as a sponsor, I really enjoyed us going over Kat's step 1 and 2. We had a moment in my car, like we had a long moment. I mean, and that's okay. That's another point I'd make is like, listen, the most important thing to me as a sponsor sometimes is I don't even try. Like it is the most present I've ever been in my life. So I could easily say that every moment being a sponsor is my favorite.
Yeah.
Cause God, it feels good to be present.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. Like I have ADHD.
During step work,
That should be violent.
My phone goes on silent. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
My brain does still go in many directions
course.
while my sponsee is talking, but like I'm so present, I'm so invested, I'm so fully immersed, right? And anyway, so we were in my car and we were opening Old Wounds, and it was like the most bonding I'd ever done. I feel in that moment that's what it felt like, was I was just so intensely bonding with this person that I had come to care about, like that I kind of cared about possibly too deeply from the moment we met. But no, I just had always felt like I had this weird sense that I needed to be in Kat's life, like I had a purpose, and I could help in some way, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, it felt like the actualization of that in some way. I'm not.
You being seen by yourself too. Like I'm like a validation of yourself for yourself.
Oh yeah, like
I'm
actualization
supposed to
of
be
the
here.
service that you.
This is
that
exactly
you,
where I want
right,
to be.
the goal,
Anywhere on earth,
the purpose,
I want to be right here.
The reason I was, lived out of addiction. Right. Sometimes it feels that way.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying that moment was like I don't mean to it just sounds kind of grandiose, right? I don't mean to be grandiose, but in the moment when you're really present, it can feel
Yeah.
Like I said, the
everything
greatest high.
Like everything that happened, it makes sense.
Everything, yeah. Like I
went through all that for a reason.
I am a beacon, I'm a conduit for this person. Use me as you need. You know, I'm listening. I'm here to validate your experience, and all that humble shit. So anyway, that's
I am your lighthouse, Eric.
yeah. And so like, anyway, that's definitely that was definitely like a recent experience but I have many, and I
yeah, exactly. There's I would pick one.
Right. As a sponsee, I would
million.
say it was like that first 7-step, I also enjoyed hanging up on my sponsor when she told me to add rebelliousness to my 6-step. But anyway.
Rebelliousness? Fuck you, bitch.
That.
Rebel this.
Quite literally that. Also, when she told me to wait 6 months and sit in my 6-step after I read it, or I wrote it, the entire thing in a 24-hour period. No, those are the least favorite. No, but I really actually, all this time, I thought people are talking about 7-step and like hitting their knees. That is not going to happen to me. And then guess what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was so desperate. That yeah, I actually did.
You prayed? You prayed?
I dropped to my knees in a shower.
Not all of this are godless heathens like you, Eric.
Well,
No, I am a godless heathen, but I prayed and it wasn't about. That's my point, though. It wasn't about. I didn't know who the fuck I was praying to. It didn't
praying to
matter.
yourself.
It was
My default is always Joe Pesci.
for me. It was quite literally the day that I realized that I didn't need to know to box it up, like you were saying, David. I realized that. Actually, being open-minded needed to stay around forever. Actually, it needs to be anything that operates as a system within itself and seems to possess organization and, all these traits that I don't.
Exactly, because and like that's what I ultimately finally got through. Like with 2 and 3 was like I am, in the universal scope. I'm a grain of sand. I'm an ant. Like even in my wildest imagination of whatever a higher power could be, would fall so vastly short of what it actually is that I'm just going to stop trying.
Exactly.
I'm just going to stop
That's
trying.
where I'm at.
Whatever, like I think it's something. It's greater than me, and it is completely unfathomable. By my brain.
My brain cannot perceive it.
I'm like, to throw a little shade, whatever little book is out there that said this is it. No, it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Because no God can be encapsulated in a fucking book. It cannot happen because there is no possibility that, God that created everything in existence could possibly be understood in, 32 chapters.
Right, like I'm
Not
the
gonna
definition
happen.
of agnostic, you know? I
It-
remain open-minded, and the lack of definition of it is my higher power.
Yeah,
you know
but
what I mean?
by all means, if that book helps you to become a better person and treat people as a better servant of whatever you're doing, keep your book and keep reading it.
Yeah.
Keep doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not here to shame you in any way, shape, or form. Like, if it is working, keep doing it.
Yeah.
As long as you're being a good person about it. But that's all I got. Final thoughts? Anybody? Or do you have any, Eric?
No. I think we covered it.
All right.
Thank you.
I'd like to give a round of applause to everybody who participated today.
That's so cute.
Thank you very much, Tara, Kat, and Jet for being such a lovely... Jet being a
Jet was-
fantastic member.
God, it makes me want a Pomeranian.
You are a Pomeranian.
Me too. It's okay.
No, you're not. I don't know what kind...
Your mom's
you're
a
not a dog,
Pomeranian.
you're a cat.
Your mom's a Pomeranian.
You're
Sorry.
I'm a Savannah cat, David. A little bit exotic.
You wish.
You know?
I brought the
wish.
media
You are a
references today.
smush-faced Himalayan. Is what you are.
I'm a Savannah.
I like smush-faced kitties, but anyway.
Oh, yeah, they're adorable.
They can't breathe though.
I know, Eric. I know.
Yeah, Eric,
and
you're allergic to
that's
everything.
why
That's why it makes sense.
I have a second cousin who breeds them, and it's deeply upsetting.
My wife has a cousin who breeds pugs, and like it gets bad where like they only have one eye, or like and it's just like stop breeding
they
them.
are abominations.
Like,
they
they
should not
can't-
exist.
Yeah, they can't breathe.
Sorry. Okay, everybody, we have digressed again, but that's why you listen to us, because we're the best. Humbly. Everybody, thank you for joining us once again. Go to all our social media outlets: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. Please become part of the home group and, join our Patreon and help us keep the mics on, because we are self-supporting. But most importantly, everybody out there,
Stay safe and stay clean.